Help us save a family of 10 from homelessness. You have no idea how much your support means to us. Your subscription would honestly change everything. Hitting that subscribe button isn't just a click, it's providing a decent life for them. Imagine seeing a penguin that looks like it's wearing a thick, funky wig on its head while the rest of its body is totally bald. No feathers at all. Is this some crazy new species? Or just a super weird stage of its life? Honestly, this hilarious look actually hides an incredible biological secret that goes down every single year, and we're about to dive into why these birds look like they just hit the hair salon before the rest of their feathers decide to ditch them. Why does this uneven shedding happen? The answer is that the penguin is going through something called a catastrophic molt, which sounds like a literal disaster, but it's actually just a fancy way of saying they drop all their old feathers at once instead of going through it little by little. The kicker with this specific type of molt is that certain parts of their body, like their head, just hang on to their feathers a lot longer than the rest, which is exactly why they get that wild, shaggy look. So why the head specifically? Well, the head area is packed with special oil glands that coat the feathers, keeping them safe from moisture and freezing cold, which makes them shed a whole lot slower. Plus, their head is the most exposed part to the wind and brutal elements, so keeping that strong insulation is a total must-have for the penguin to survive through the entire molting process, which can drag on for about 2 weeks. As for the rest of their body, the feathers shed way faster because the penguin can handle losing that insulation by relying on a thick, blubbery layer of fat under its skin. Researchers have found that this whole process burns a massive amount of energy, so penguins actually stop hunting while they're molting. They just chill and fast on land or drift ice, living entirely off the fat reserves they've been stacking up beforehand. So how do these penguins even know it's time to molt? Basically, the changing length of daylight and the shift in water temperature trigger their endocrine glands to pump out hormones that kickstart the whole shedding process. These hormones make the feather follicles totally relax, which causes the old feathers to drop off. But the follicles on their heads are way more resistant to these hormones, and that's exactly why the feathers there stick around for so much longer. If you spot a penguin in this phase, you'll notice the new feathers actually sprout underneath the old ones before the old ones finally drop off. It's such a genius survival hack to make sure their skin never gets hit by the freezing cold. But on their heads, those new feathers grow way slower, so the old ones stay nice and thick until the new ones are fully ready underneath, which gives them that hilarious look that's basically like wearing a woolly winter hat. It is super interesting that this phenomenon isn't actually the same across all penguin species. For instance, emperor penguins go through a way less obvious molt because they're living in the most brutal conditions on the planet, while Gentoo penguins show this contrast way more clearly. These differences have actually helped scientists figure out how each specific species adapts to its own environment, just by studying their feather density and how fast they grow. But the biggest question of all, how does this whole molting mess affect how penguins act? Since they can't exactly zoom through the water to escape predators while they're shedding, they're super vulnerable, so they basically pick remote spots or huddle up in massive colonies for some group protection. Researchers have actually spotted some penguins just staying glued to the same exact spot for the entire duration of the molt, and they won't even think about leaving until their brand new coat of feathers is fully grown in. As for when this whole thing goes down, it usually kicks off right after breeding season, so we're talking late summer in Antarctica. That's because the penguins have finally wrapped up their parenting duties and have built up a solid stash of fat to survive. Scientists figured out this timing by keeping tabs on groups of penguins with tiny tracking devices, which showed that the molt is locked into their annual life cycle with insane precision. And get this, it's honestly mind-blowing that a penguin can lose up to 1/3 of its body weight during this molting stint just from fasting and shedding all that old plumage. But the second those brand new feathers are fully in, they're straight back into the water to make up for lost time. They can actually cruise at speeds hitting 35 kilometers per hour thanks to that super sleek, aerodynamic new coat. This whole makeover basically turns them into high-speed machines, giving them a massive edge for hunting and dodging predators. So how exactly did they figure out this precise mechanism? Well, scientists used thermal cameras to measure their skin surface temperature while they were molting, and they found that the head areas actually stayed about 2 degrees Celsius warmer than the rest of their body during those first few days. That heat difference totally proves that the feathers sticking around on their heads are doing a vital job as an insulator, and it's definitely not just some random fluke. Even with all that, climate change is seriously messing with this delicate balance. Rising temperatures in Antarctica might end up speeding up or slowing down the molting process for some species, which totally throws them out of sync with their food seasons. Field studies have already spotted some penguins starting their molt earlier than usual, which is a major problem because it cuts into the time they have to pack on the fat they need to survive the fast. But even with those challenges, the penguin's ability to pull off this complex process is a straight-up biological miracle. Every single new feather grows at the perfect angle to overlap with the others, creating an airtight layer of air that keeps their body heat from escaping. Scientists have actually measured the density of this new plumage and found it's 30% thicker than the old stuff, which guarantees some seriously top-tier insulation that lasts all the way until the next molting season rolls around. And there you have it. That hilarious penguin hairdo isn't just some visual joke, it's actually a super precise part of their yearly life cycle. This temporary phase is a total reminder that nature is packed with these mind-blowing adaptations that are just as functional as they are cool to look at. Next time you see a picture of a penguin rocking a feathery little hat, you'll remember you're actually looking at one of the most complex survival mechanisms on the entire planet.